Hey folks, this is Rodney Arbona, your host of No Excuses, and I have two very special guests, Ernie DiStefano and Roy Forman, and they have a marvelous organization named CAAN, that's CANN, and it talks and helps MMA boxers, athletes, and artists. That's where the part of the CAAN is all about. And I find this very interesting because with you two knowing this industry, and how very few people get watched over. You two are like the angels of the whole boxing MMA world, and congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. And Rodney, thank you for having us. I appreciate this opportunity to talk about our message and our mission.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Ernie, you are the founder of CAAN, and where in your heart did you said to yourself, I need to be doing something, and how am I going to do it?
Well, for 35 years, I worked in the court and prison system here in Delaware as a professional. I worked for the public defender's office doing psychoforensic work. And for 20 of those years, my office was located in a prison in Wilmington, Delaware. And through those years, I saw the wasted potential that came through and went behind bars. Whether it be athletic or artistic. Actually, the athletic piece was my original motivation because of my background as a baseball scout, as an athlete, as an agent. And I just wanted to create, actually, it didn't start as an organization. I actually started doing things on my own and funding these guys on my own. We were able to get basketball scrimmages through the warden. To get these guys some opportunities to show their stuff. And one young man actually got recruited out of one of those as a basketball player. So, you know, I felt I wanted to do something to for the betterment of the larger community. And I felt that the best way to do that was to create a nonprofit organization. So several years ago, I became a nonprofit organization, and we became a nonprofit organization and received our 501c3 designation. And since then, I've been trying to use my skills and the acumen that I acquired over the years through the criminal justice system and through athletics, and get other great people involved who can also bring a lot of acumen and a lot of gifts and skills, like Roy Forman to the team. And then I eventually found out that the greatest outreach that we could provide would be through the combat athletes and through the fight game. That was based on my a relatively brief period in experience as a co-manager of boxers, as a boxing coach, and as I spent a little time being a matchmaker and whatnot, but it was enough based on that experience. It was enough for me to see that boxers and MMA fighters are incredibly vulnerable in their chosen sports and their chosen professions. And the basic mission for CAAN, CAAN, is to use athletics and the arts as a means of crime prevention and reduction of criminal recidivism by assisting individuals who are at risk, who may have been incarcerated previously, who are legally at risk, or are in a socioeconomic situation that puts them at risk. And so that's why we're where we are now, as far as wanting to trying to create that kind of situation with combat athletes, especially around the issue of head injuries. But I know Roy's much more experienced, and he has an incredible resume, and his family. He's big in the boxing industry and in the sport, and Roy can certainly speak a lot better on that than I could. So there you go.
So for the people who are listening and watching, just so everybody knows, CAAN is Combat Athletes and Artists Network?
Yes, that's correct.
And Roy, not that you didn't have anything to do. How did they pull you into this?
Well,
why is it so special for you?
Well, the first part is two things you kind of got mixed up, Rodney, when you said angels, and then with Ernie being a background in prison. Well, some of these people that's involved in this sport, believe me, they should have been. I'm surprised he didn't meet a bunch of them in the prison system as they came through here, because a lot of the matchmakers and promoters that are, specifically the promoters in this business, have used a lot of these fighters for so many years. My brother and I always use this term. We're a product of a very compassionate America, right? Very
Right.
compassionate America, because we started from that bottom here and was able to work ourselves up to the top. And along the way, you should see the types of people, the amount of people that are discarded.
Sure.
Totally discarded. So when someone like Ernie, who we actually met through a guy by the name of Paul Johnson, who we was trying to start a union for boxers, and we 20 something odd years, we were unable to get to what Ernie did in like 2 or 3 years. Okay, because there's a problem when you're trying to battle against a system. It's a system. People use this word all the time. Now, I ain't overusing it, but it's a systemic system. You know what I mean? It's just that they don't want to change. So so rather than trying to change it from the inside where they are, where you got so much infighting, you come outside like Ernie did, and you start saying, this is what we're going to do so that these artists and these athletes can have someone they can call and step into, and we can be there for them. And that's the part I like, because I've been in this game like 40 years, 40.
Yes, you have.
Years. So it's like, what can you do? And you can give them money if you have it, and we can have funds. The problem is a lot of them don't know what to do with it in the first place. That's why they misuse some of them, the ones that were fortunate enough to make some money, earn a living, and get a life out of it. That's why they wound up in the situation that they're in now. So Ernie's thing was, let's help these guys. Let's find some way to get us some training. Let's help and educate the young ones that are coming in now, so that they will be the ones that can take it to the next level. Now it'll be easy for us. If we can bring them in, educate them. It's very easy for us.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, can I piggyback on what Roy said for a second?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, and what Roy said about me being an outsider, I think that's important for fighters to know, that our mission, we don't have, and this can happen in boxing, as Roy can attest to, where you have people with other agendas. I'm not a promoter. I don't have anything to gain monetarily through the fighters. We're here to help them with no, we don't set any fees for them. We do need fundraising, and we could certainly help the people in the industry who believe in our mission. We could certainly help with a generous tax deductible donation. Let me get that in. But I think it's important, and Roy can attest to this, is that trust level is a big key.
Yes.
And if you know that we do not have a hidden agenda, that we're not trying to benefit financially from anything that they're doing, as many elements in that industry tend to do, then that'll help them get on board and help us in this mission, and we can join together to achieve the mission.
And that's so important. And I know one other thing that's important that I know is working, you're towards to working even more positive, is using social media. And you do have a Facebook group to gain access to people worldwide, especially in the MMA world, because that is very worldwide.
Yes, it is.
A lot of backdoor going on there, even probably more so than boxing ever had. As I know people who moved to Thailand to train there because of the cost factor and the lack of regulations. So when you hear these things, and I get to meet you two with what you're doing, and of course, just not the two of you, we know there's more of a team. But now with social media, what role you think this is going to play to get the better outreach?
Well, yeah, as I'd mentioned, I started a Facebook group. It's the CAAN Inc., CAAN Inc. group, and I invite all fighters who will be listening and seeing this interview to go on and request an invitation. I'd be more than happy to have you on as part of the team and part of that group. What we're trying to do is get as many fighters as possible everywhere to get behind our mission and become part of the team. There are strength in numbers, and so that's what we're trying to do. I'm asking for their feedback on what services we could use to help fighters be able to guard themselves against the worst elements, and to help them not be as vulnerable in their careers, so that it creates some independence for them and creates a situation where we basically focus on their concerns in their lives outside the ring. We want to make sure that we can assist them. And there are good promoters like Roy. There are also a lot of bad elements everywhere.
Sure.
And so we want to give them provide them with services that will create some autonomy for them and some independence. One quick example is I co-managed a fighter one time, and he's still fighting. But when I got him connected with the Food Bank of Delaware program, an employment vocational program, while he was fighting, and he completed that program, and they got him a job as a chef. Well, he was with a promoter. The promoter wanted him to fight like 2 months before his previous fight. And he said, no, I don't want, it's too soon. It's too soon. That's too dangerous. Well, I believe firmly that had he not had that other revenue stream, he would have been more inclined to take that fight, even though it was not in his best interest, physically or otherwise. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, speaking of revenue
Yes.
streams, Roy, from your experience, like you said, you started with nothing and you and your brother built an empire. God bless you guys. What factor you think it plays of revenue stream where boxers are taking too many chances?
Well, it's kind of like what Ernie just said, but this is the only sport. I tell people this all the time, where you can have no experience and just walk in the door. Okay? None. A guy goes into the gym, he walks into the gym with a towel, he throws a straight thing on. He's a trainer. Okay? And then the other one is maybe he puts on a suit and tie, he says, I'm a promoter. Because there's no guidelines. There are no guidelines. You pay I think it's like $200, or some places maybe $500 to licenses. They don't ask you, well, have you had any fighters before? Well, they don't ask you those questions. How many guys have you trained? Well, no, I don't know. The ones who are here, most of us, we've come up behind somebody. I'm talking about the ones that are good in the sport. So there's no guidelines. That's the first part, and that's very, because you can't walk into an NBA gym and become what do you call it? A scout? Not a scout. Well, even a scout, you have to put your time in there.
You're right.
But
Or an agent.
And it costs you thousands. I was an NFL agent for a while back in the early 80s, and they changed it. It was a little different then now, because then you paid the money, you took the test. It's pretty simple. Now you basically have to be a lawyer or a CPA or something to be in that business. Boxing has not changed since Jack Dempsey. No. Since, what's the guy, the bare knuckles guy? Jim Sullivan. It hasn't changed since then. You've got the same type of PT Barnum type thing. Come one, come all, see the fat lady, the bearded lady, and everybody comes. This game is so far behind. MMA is perhaps maybe the same, but you have guys like Dana and the other guy, I forget that's out there. There's another one that comes across my mind. They're out there, they're throwing around big money, but nobody sees what they're doing to these young boys in the back room. They're making billions of dollars, and these guys are making hundreds of dollars. A couple of them are making some big paydays, but it's just like boxing. You have to go through what you go through, and that's the shame, because why? They're not educated, and they've always picked on the lowly in this game for them to walk on. Let's put it like that they use as a bridge to get across the other way. And then all of a sudden they're there 20 years down the line. Yeah, everybody knows about Don King, but what about the guys Don King left behind, or Bob Arum, or any of those guys, the ones they left behind? That's the problem. And I think that we can, if we're able to educate the fighter as well as the guys, those who want to learn, but if we're able to educate them coming in the door, guess what? You're gonna have a much better product. The better the product, the better the service. That's just what.
The better the audience.
Better the audience, exactly.
Roy hit it right on the head. Roy hit the nail right on the head. And then we talk about education. We're not just talking about funding training programs. Education, as Roy touched about, what we're trying to do now and what we're in the process of doing is establishing guidelines, written guidelines that fighters can refer themselves to about what you need to look for in a quality trainer, what you need to look for with a quality promoter. And then they can look at this, and then they can make a more educated decision on who they want in their corner, pardon the pun. But that's that would give them the information that makes them more autonomous and they know what they have a right to expect from the people who are claiming to help them.
That's great. That's great. This is a wonderful, wonderful organization that you, Ernie, developed, and of course you, Roy, being a part of. It takes a team, as we know, to make something happen. What's the next step here? Where do you feel you are in the world of both combat artists and artists, excuse me? Where do you want to be, and where do you think you are right now? How much attention do you think you're getting, and where do we need to be so we can start getting this ball rolling on its own with people coming to you and you not taking so much valuable time going to them?
Well, I thought, the Facebook group is one thing that we're doing, and
Good.
great formats and great forums like yours will definitely help. Obviously, it's always about fundraising.
Sure.
We can't do any of this without money, and so if we can reach as many people who are in the fight industry, or who believe in what we're trying to do, or anyone who's out there who believes in what we're doing and would like to contribute to our mission, it would be greatly appreciated. Our If I could give my website, our website
Yes, I
address,
was going to ask you for that. Absolutely.
it's www.CAAN Group, CAAN Group, GROUP.org. If you go on that website, there's a donation page, and if you go on there, there's a PayPal account that people can make a tax deductible donation.
And as
So
far
that
as
would be awesome.
as far as the donation, can combat artists, combat people, and artists go to that website to reach out to you guys as well?
Yes.
Get information?
Yes, and then our contact information is on there. It's actually my email address is happyathlete2424@gmail.com. And again, if you're fighters out there, and please contact me, and we're looking for your feedback on all the information that we've discussed and all the things, because it's really about you and bringing you in as the team. Now, to go back to your original question, what we're trying to, like, again, we're trying to coalesce around brain injury is the big thing that really kind of affects all these other issues. Because if someone has an injury that is that debilitating, it not only ends their career in the ring, it also precludes them or prevents them from really having the skills that they need to survive out in the world outside the ring.
Sure.
So that's one issue that needs to be addressed and isn't being addressed, in my view, and Roy can touch on this to the extent that it needs to be. There's no governing body in sport. The NFL has has their organization, Major League Baseball, all the major sports. Fight sports do not.
And the
And
thing,
that's something that who knows? I mean, one of the dreams of this thing is maybe we could provide some kind of organization that can create some kind of organized platform for addressing all of these issues.
and the platforms are there. This is the thing about it. You got the study in Las Vegas that you got the Muhammad Ali study that they started for what's it called? CTE, I think is what it's called.
Yes.
That's the term they like to use, CTE. Boxing, they call it punch drunk. But it took this many years for them to come up with a term because of what the NFL and the problem that they started having, to find out that boxers weren't the only ones that were going through this. The only difference with that is that there are big organizations out there in the NFL. These guys get pensions if they play 5 years, I think it is, into the sport. They'll become available for pensions. They get part of the money that's spent, everything that's spent, whether it be merchandise, through merchandising, basically. That's the way it is. And they're all given a part of something. In this particular sport, we talk about how a Pacquiao and a Mayweather and the Tyson, any of those guys can come on in one night and make a $50 million payday. But the way boxing is set up is at the bottom, there's a 4-round, and they're going to tell you 4 or 6 round guys that are there. And they're going out there fighting just as hard as the guys that put that 1 million or put that 100 million. They don't get any of that. Every NBA playoff game, every NFL, there's a pot that goes there. So much goes to the owner, so much goes into the union. So much goes for the players, for them when they retire from this game. Boxing doesn't have that. This is so antiquated. You know, it's so antiquated. It's ridiculous. We need people like we have on our group. That's the doctor that came in with us, Ernie. You can tell him his name. I forgot his name.
Charles Bernick.
Yes.
Yeah, he's been assisting. Yeah.
And we need people like that, people that understand what's happening to these athletes, the MMA guys. Yeah, people can have no idea what it's like. They cheer for us on television. Well, for the guys on TV, you know, they like the impact that they get, you know, but after it's all over, they don't understand what it's like to be kicked in the head, where you're an MMA guy, or punched in the head, you know, for 7, 8 rounds, 10, 12 rounds. They still don't know the answer of what causes, because some guys do this business and they don't have a problem. I say, God, my brother, George is a blessing, I think, for this sport. We need more guys like him, perhaps Sugar Ray, Larry Holmes, guys that have been through this sport and can tell these young men that, you know, this is what it's about. But at the end of the day, you have to have yourself prepared, because you got a family. Most likely, you're going to have a family. You're going to have kids you want to educate. So we need to, there should be some type of platform out there for them where that money comes in. Television gets this money. Everybody talks about, again, the $100 million, the $200 million that's being paid. They pay the athletes out here, but that residual money, who knows how much that money is? So why isn't that shared with these athletes, or with boxing? Not just those guys, but why isn't it shared with boxing throughout? Those are the changes that we need to make.
Right.
Very
Just to give an example, Rodney, I know in my experience, like Roy was saying, a 4-round fight, some fighters have been paid as little as $800, and then they have to pay their cornermen. They got to pay their manager, got to pay, you know, all these folks, and then they get in there, and then, you know, there are, you know, the fighters who sustain multiple concussions in one bout. I mean, we're talking about a sport, obviously, where the direct objective is to impose physical injury on your opponent, but yet the overall concern and addressing of that issue really is way behind, as Roy said.
It's totally a shame. And yes, boxing does have that platform to put injury on others, but so does football. But like you both said perfectly, there are things that are precautions that are being taken. Helmets are constantly getting readjusted to try to maximize any type of head injury. And I just want to say, guys, time's really about up. It's a shame. I love your passion. You both are very passionate about this. I can feel it, like if we were sitting in the room together. As promised, we're not going to end here, but I just want to make sure we caught the attention of the folks that are going to be watching this, and we should definitely do a follow-up in the future so we can keep growing CAAN and promoting CAAN at the same time. I'm with you.
I look forward to it. I look forward to it.
Appreciate
it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Ernie, Roy, thank you so much for being on No Excuses. It's been an absolute pleasure. You're my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. I look forward to seeing you guys again. Have a great day. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon.